Oh, and I'll just do a quick spoiler. We're gonna go over my thoughts on Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So this is a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, and a lot of the story, especially what makes it interesting, carries over from the first game. So if you haven't played the first game, a lot of the story in this game is going to fall flat. It still might look cool and be flashy, but a lot of the impactful moments and a lot of the story overall, honestly, will just kind of fall flat. That being said, the story of the game, I think, was ultimately really good. Again, that's a subjective. It was kind of cliche at some points for sure, but overall, it had a lot of really high octane moments, a lot of stuff going on, some very kind of like Uncharted-esque vibes where, you know, you just shit was going crazy all around you. You're going through a set piece, but it was really fucking awesome, and you're interacting with it still. A lot of stuff like that, and it was really well done, I think. Mixed with the Dark Souls-esque genre combat, I gotta say that's a match made in heaven if I ever seen one, because you get this almost Zelda-esque archetype where you're not only getting abilities to help you in the combat, which is already really challenging and articulate on its own, but those abilities you can then use for traversal things and find new areas and just make the world even bigger. And I love that. That is one of my favorite things in gaming, hands down. So the way those two mix really well together, and they do it perfectly in this game. Personally, like, I don't have a lot of negative things to say other than a few minute things, and those are honestly very specific. Overall, this game is pretty fucking phenomenal. I gotta give it, like, I'll just get out and jump on ahead of everything. 9 out of 10 for me personally, and I would say overall this is probably like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 game. I'd say it's arguable because there's a lot of people who aren't into games so much that they even really notice bugs or anything like that. And if you're just one of those kind of once in a while gamers, you buy maybe one game a year type thing, you're probably not even gonna notice a lot of the like stuff with this, like as far as like the technical performance and everything. On PC you might. I can't speak for PC still, but on PlayStation you probably won't notice a lot. There might be a couple times where you get like a weird like jump animation where you're kind of floating in the air, but otherwise it's just so, a lot of the issues and bugs that I experience are very nichey, and like you have to be paying attention really to see them, which is a great thing. Otherwise, this game ran phenomenally. I don't know why. It might be something to do with the fact that I'm running it through a splitter and like a video capture card. I would have really bad frame rate issues on my screen. On the stream and everything, it seemed like it was fine, so that's good, but on my screen it was slowing down. I don't know if that was a performance thing of the game or something because of the splitter, so I'm not going to hold that specific thing against it, but there were various like bugs where I kind of would get locked up on a wall or a rock or something invisible, and that shit kind of sucks. But again, it's probably not all that noticeable. There was a map bug that I did notice, that is like certain times, like if I open the map and started messing around too quickly, I couldn't zoom in all the way. Like it would just kind of glitch out, or it wouldn't load all the objectives and markers. Otherwise, with one exception, which we'll get to in a second because it kind of tails into something I wanted to dive in deep. Otherwise, this game is really well done. There's a lot of stuff going on and it handles it well. This combat style doesn't really lend itself well to multiple enemies, but this game managed to figure out a way to level the playing field, and I loved it. And with the few exceptions, the Grandmaster difficulty really wasn't all that difficult. It was mostly just the boss fights that really gave me the run for my money. And with that, we get to the really juicy subject that I wanted to go over, and that is the combat. I'm not like the most intelligent person in the world. I have plenty of problems. But one thing that I know very well is Souls combat. I've played a lot of Souls likes including the entire series. I just finished the Demon Souls remake. So, aside from the original Kingsfield games and the original version of Demon Souls, I have played all of the major Souls FromSoft universe. The Bloodborne, Sekiro, Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Elden Ring, Demon Souls. Played them all. Even Platinum Elden Ring. I have played Neo 1 and 2, Surge 1 and 2, Ashen, um, drawing a blank on other ones, but I've played quite a handful of other Souls likes. Even some weird and inventive ones like Immortal Unchained, which had like sci-fi guns and stuff. That game I would recommend to the curious gamer, but that's for another time. Out of all of the Soulsborne combats, this one is definitely up there, at least in my top 5 for sure, maybe even top 3. Because I always kind of harken everything back to the FromSoft games when it comes to this combat, because they quite literally have perfected it. There's, over time, some of the combat's a little bit clunkier, and it kind of comes down to personal preference at certain points. So like the Elden Ring, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, the combat's a little bit quicker, it's a bit more aggressive. Dark Souls 1 and 2, Demon Souls, the combat there is a little bit slower, a little bit more methodical, which really lends itself better to a more like just slower gameplay and pace of combat overall. And that really is more of a personal preference at the end of the day. Those aside, with time, each of those styles of combat that they have crafted, they've almost essentially honed to perfection. Specifically because when you're playing those games, at least for me, and I'm sure a lot of others, we don't jump in and play a Dark Souls game and just, oh my god, this game's broken. It's like, this is stupid, that's stupid. There might be certain tiny things in the game that are, but very rarely in FromSoft's case, fortunately. And then with the character, you start, especially when you're playing the game and getting used to it, you start to understand, oh, it wasn't something broken, it was just my mistake. I did this wrong. I should have done this there. I should have blocked that attack instead of trying to dodge it. I should have healed here. I should have hit him with a heavy here, that kind of a thing. And that's one of the reasons I find that combat so addictive, because it's like I can actually enjoy it a lot. It's like I can feel myself improving over time, getting used to it. This game delivers a very, very similar feeling, and I'm really happy about that. The biggest and really only exception, there's two things, one's a minor thing, but the big issue that I really had with this game was the healing system. It's your typical Estus Flask clone. You just hit the button on the D-pad and the heal goes off. Because this game wanted to incorporate difficulties so everyone could play it, which is fine, they kind of fucked the Grandmaster difficulty, the hardest one, a little bit, because the way that the heal works, they also wanted to inflate the perk system, so a few skills are dedicated to the healing mechanic itself. So in the simplest way to put it, there's certain values, numerical values assigned to how the heal works. For instance, how long it takes for the button press to register and the heal to actually go off. There's also an audio cue that goes along with that. And because there's skills to change those values, the values are very artificially skewed. So to make difficulties like boss fights and stuff harder, they change the windows of opportunity for those values to be interrupted. So the time, for instance, it takes for the heal to go or be inputted and to go off, that also changes with the difficulty. And because of the animations in this game, I guess there's three things, because I would count this separate from healing. The animations in this game require you to finish the full animation before you can cancel. Animation canceling, it's a popular term in these types of games especially. And whereas I'm totally okay with animation canceling that involves you at least doing the first motion of the animation, because this seems a bit more realistic. Like if I was trying to do a combo on you, but I realized halfway through that combo that I'm about to get hit in my blind spot, I could stop the combo after that certain swing and then, go into a block. That makes sense to me. That's totally fine. And that's how Dark Souls does it. If you're playing those, there's very few moves, like long wind-up moves are a bit of an exception, but otherwise there's you're able to cancel certain and most moves after the first motion rather than carrying through with the entire animation, which is consisting of several motions. This game does not do that. This game requires that you go through the entire animation. The only way to somewhat interrupt that or shorten it is to dodge immediately after. The blocking in this is pretty good. I've never been good at blocking, so I'm not going to harp too much on that. They make it more difficult in Grandmaster, but as far as I can tell, the only thing that I don't like about it is when I get it right, it feels like I did it a second too late, which is weird, but it's neither here nor there. The animation canceling though, so that combined with the healing is a real pain in the ass, because sometimes, because of certain animations, if you go to hit the heal button while doing an animation, it just won't register the input. So now you're already back to moving and the heal just hasn't gone off, so that 1 millisecond that one frame of opportunity that you had to heal is now gone, and you're just at a massive disadvantage. And it's just like, that's also happened with attacking, jumping, dodging. It happens a lot. It's because of certain animations, your next input essentially just is completely unregistered. That was a huge frustration. It caused immeasurable amounts of frustration and deaths, and I'm sure it's going to cause even more because we're not done with this game. We've still got plenty to do. There's bounties to do, more bosses, some tears. I'm going to give another go at collecting some stuff, but that is one bug that I've noticed. I'm not entirely sure if it's a bug or it's something I'm missing, but there have been instances where there's icons on the map indicating there's something that I can interact with or collect collectibles, and I can't. It's just not there. But other than that, it's only happened in like a couple spots, so I don't, it sucks. It shouldn't happen, but ultimately it's not completing me or stopping me from completing the game, like getting to the story, to the credits. So all of that said and done, so we'll just kind of break it down a little bit more, my overall score, and then what I would feel like a good general rating for this would be. And like I said, for me, it's going to be a 9 out of 10 for sure. I had such a good time with this. This game really puts into perspective how big the Star Wars universe is. It's so much more than just those 3 movies from back when I was a kid, and I love that. I love to see like all the different like plot threads and alien races, different forms of like, you got the Force, you got the dark side, the light side, you got the interpretations of it, you've got your bandits, your space fishermen, all this kind of stuff. And you got all the architecture, which is really cool. Like the Imperial places are always too clean for my taste. Like there should be clipboards or something around somewhere, but otherwise, like everything just looks really cool. It's a really good universe to get immersed in. It's very comfortable, and since it's not trying to stick to the movies, like now it's quite literally its own universe. It's actually really nice to get like involved in it, because the Star Wars universe is really starting to become, it almost does feel like a video game first kind of place. Not that it is, but a lot of the stuff that some of the best Star Wars games have covered are technically canon to the Star Wars universe. These games are especially. So my favorite thing about gaming is how immersive you get into the stories that are being told, and this game is absolutely delivering on that. I think the only reason I would not label it a 10 out of 10 is simply because I found certain issues to be so egregious for me personally that a lot of my enjoyment of the game was quickly turned into frustration. Specifically, the broken hitboxes on the Ogdos and then the healing mechanic. I think it was just, and the animation canceling. It's all, it makes it for an artificial difficulty, in my opinion. I feel like the difficulty is artificial in that it's not actually balanced to test your capability more than it is just there to be the hardest version of that fight that was tested at a lower difficulty. That makes any sense. I digress. For me, it's a 9 out of 10. And now for a general rating, I would also say probably 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. There were a lot of bugs at launch, especially. As far as I know, the PC version is still kind of chunky. So I can see that deterring a lot of people. But I do see that since it's Star Wars and it's got a huge marketing campaign and it was really well received otherwise, I feel like this game is going to be really popular with the 1 to 2 game a year type crowd. And those people I really don't think will notice much technical issues with this at all. With as little as they'll actually get to play the game, or at least as little as they're used to playing games in general, they won't have a lot to compare it to. I think that speaks volumes, honestly, because the property they chose to work with was so well, it's so well recognized that even if there's a couple fuck ups, there's still an audience that won't even notice those. I think that's pretty cool. Well, I wouldn't say it's cool, but I think it's a good thing from a marketing point of view, because you can always guarantee there's going to be a buyer. Because of those same people that I would also say this game is probably a 10 out of 10, because this game does so much that's like top of the fucking tier in gaming right now. The graphics, the way interactions work, the way exploration goes, the mixing of the combat and exploration abilities, like I said earlier. The lore is just ever expanding, so there's so much potential with that. I was saying earlier, I think it might even been yesterday's stream, if not the day before, this game would be like the perfect archetype for a Mass Effect clone. And that would be an awesome way to finish up the trilogy. Just make the last game this huge fucking space crawling adventure. Because, well, I'll get into that more detail in a second, but long story short, the games have kind of set up the fact that there's a way to track other force sensitive people in the universe. And I wonder if anybody saw that in the credits. There's a bit of a spoiler. Somewhat related. Hope new Mass Effect is good. No, me too. But like that would be a really good way to finish this off, because you could just have this entire solar system going around trying to find these other force sensitive Jedi people to try to get them to all come to this new Jedi order that the Ahsoka series can build into. That would be kind of cool, because I could also see Ahsoka and Cal Kestis crossing paths. This takes place before A New Hope, so Cal Kestis has definitely some time to go, but then again, I don't know how long it's going to be until the third game when that'll take place. So the third game really could just be fucking anything. That's the crazy part, especially because the Mandalorian and the Ahsoka show are going between 6 and 7, episode 6 and 7. Yes, that was a spoiler, Solar. So like, Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, all 3 of those take place in between. Well, Boba Fett also takes place a little bit during the original trilogy, but that's just during the flashback sequences. Um, but they take place between 6 and 7. And there's a movie that's supposed to take place also in that same time frame, because Ahsoka and I think Mando season 4 are supposed to lead up to this crazy Jon Favreau and the other guy TV universe movie, like a legit big Star Wars movie. And everyone's speculating it's gonna have something to do with Thrawn, who I don't know shit about because I haven't watched the other Rebels and stuff, which I need to. I will. I'm finishing up on Bleach first. But my assumption is, well, I have a few, honestly, because just the time frame of everything makes it really hard for me to really lock down my convictions and believe that it's going to go this way or that way. But we're just spitballing, so it doesn't really matter, right? Yeah, homie keeps showing up in the credits. Yeah, he does. Thrawn had some amazing Legends content. I'm trying to learn more about him. All I know is that he was like an Imperial officer, and that's about it. Like a high, like a captain, commander, Imperial commander. But yeah, just throwing it out there. There's a couple of things. My number one thing that I think will actually happen is Cal is going to turn into a hunter of sorts for other Jedi. He's going to go around, try to find other Force-sensitive people, try to convert them to his Jedi religion, Catholic place, and have everybody go there and be happy and safe and learn Force powers. And then I also think it's going to tie in possibly even to Rey. Now, as far as I'm concerned, spoilers if you haven't seen the newest trilogy, but Rey is actually Emperor Palpatine again. Like, he's still not dead, I think. I think he's just like fused in Rey's soul, and Rey's gonna go through this whole like arc of getting over that, because she's also super strong and crazy strong. What's the Nil? Show back up as some big threat. Show Palpatine. I don't even know who the Nil were, to be quite honest with you, but that would be interesting. That could be a thing. I'll put that in another basket. For this one, my main focus would basically be on, because of Rey's insistence, because at the end of the eighth movie, there's basically the big reveal that there's just tons of Force sensitive people all over the universe or galaxy, and like there's a way to track them all. That was the big kind of like huzzah thing, and Rey more or less decides that she wants to go try to find them and kind of like protect them from the bad guys. And then the story just gets all wacky because they didn't keep the same writers or anything. However, that is still an intrinsic character trait that she has. So what I could see happening, because there's also going to be more Rey content, I could see it's going to be like 15 years after. I could see it being her journey to capture, or not capture, but like find all these Force sensitive people, while the Emperor is just kind of like chilling in the background of her like subconscious, just waiting for her to get everybody into one place at once, and then he'll take over and do whatever he wants to do. And that could be the big thing. And then in that story, I see room for her meeting Cal, because Cal's gonna basically be very similar to her in power, and I could see Cal being like a Jedi Grandmaster, like being some big head honcho, because now he's definitely like dabbled with both sides of the Force. He's done some pretty impressive shit. He hasn't pulled a fucking Imperial cruiser out of the sky yet, but I think Mans is capable. Just saying, I think he can do it. But that's my more or less like my actual thought on it. The only thing about that theory, and that's how he'll join the cinematic universe, is I don't know what the third game will really consist of. or when it'll take place, rather. I could see him doing the whole gather all the force sensitive people, let them know that there's a safe place. But I could also see maybe his story ending on like a shit note. Like maybe Tantalor ends up getting destroyed somehow or ruined in the third game, and so Cal's basically on his own again. And I could see Marin dying in the third game too, which would really fuck with him and make him just go into, you know, seclusion. I think he has some crazy awesome like arrival in the cinematic universe. I don't know much about them other than they somehow made it to Tantalor and rolled the Jedi Order, already hit Shield, anti-Calcassus. And I kind of want them to make Force Unleashed canon again. Well, see, the thing is, I think even though they said some stuff isn't canon, I think it still might be, because like Star Wars Rebels, for instance, is Delta Squad, or not just them, but like has to do with Delta Squad, Star Wars Republic Commando, like that KOTOR remake. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, I heard actually. I was literally halfway through a video talking about it when I started streaming today. They're also talking about in the good news, the Eclipse project is coming along really well. And you know what? I'm honestly okay with the KOTOR remake taking a while, because I still want to play the original. Never played it. Like, fuck, man. I got too many games to play, but we're getting through them. And as a matter of fact, man, I don't know. I was thinking I was gonna throw on Octopath, because we can roll credits on that too. And it's also a fucking Apex event, so I wanted to hop on and play some Apex. God, the choices. We'll just keep playing this for now. I got a little bit sidetracked. But yeah, there's so many games. The Star Wars game, Eclipse, whatever, that takes place around like in the Old Republic, that'll probably be badass. I'll be looking to see if there's any mention of the Old Republic shit that they talk about in this game, in that game. And that's another thing I like about this game, is its ties and homages to the greater Star Wars universe. That's probably one of my favorite things about gaming in general, is, like I said, it's a very immersive medium, especially for storytelling, specifically for storytelling. And there's like, since it's already a pre-established universe, there's things that when you're super into the game and you come across them, or you take part in doing them, or hear them, or see them, whatever the case may be, it makes you feel all that more connected to the universe. Like, for instance, seeing that ship from that Jabba the Hutt used, when Vader showed up and I had to fight him like toe to toe. Like, dude, like, that's all that shit was like really impactful when taking in the original or the greater scope of everything. And that's just something, like I said, I appreciate a lot. It makes me enjoy the games all that much more, just because it's like, not only is it this thing, this person, this idea, whatever, I'm having an interaction with it now, and this is the story, but it's like, I can go on YouTube and check out lore videos and find out even more about this thing or this person, what led them to being there at that time, or where they go in the future. So I happen to be in this person's alien whatever's life for a moment. We had an adventure, we did a thing, he said a word to me, and then ended up being some crazy big hotshot guy. Like, that stuff to me is like really endearing, especially for like how immersive the gaming gets, because it's like especially when the game stuff goes to like a movie or something. You almost feel the part like you're part of the movie when it's like, oh hey, I remember that guy, having an entire quest line with him. Like that's why I cannot wait to see Cal Kestis in the universe. Like, bruh, we spent probably close to 100 hours on this game. We're at 71 hours right now on this game. On just this game. Probably like closer to like 40 or 50. I'm rounding down, but maybe more, who knows, on the first game. So it's easily 100 hours plus with Cal and the crew. I just when and if they do get him onto the big screen, I'll be happy. Honestly, no matter how it is, I'll just be stoked because again, it's like I said, it's just makes it feel like I'm part of that universe almost. Revan is so close to being canon again. They had Yoda meet Darth Bane in the Clone Wars show. That's dope. Also, did you ever play the old Jedi Knights game? No. Hold on one second. I have them though. I have the Jedi Knight collection on my Switch. I fucking love Republic Commando. That might be one of my favorite fucking Star Wars games, just out of like sheer nostalgia and simplicity's sake. It's very old, but very fun. So I got a little sidetracked with like the universe stuff, rambling on and on. I will just kind of sum it all up. So my thoughts on Jedi Fallen Order, because there was a lot. We threw a lot of speculation, especially about the universe in it, and I just got on a tangent. So overall, I would say definitely play this game. It's pretty much peak video game in every facet. There's practically nothing wrong with the game. There's preferences here and there that would be better done elsewhere, but otherwise, this game is phenomenal. I personally rated it a 9 out of 10, and I feel like overall it's probably a good 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 video game for the general public. If you haven't ever played video games before, albeit the story might throw you for a loop, this is a great one to jump in on, figure out, you know, where gaming's at, just the power of the immersion of its storytelling. This game will absolutely do that, and there's just so much content. Absolutely worth every penny, even with the bugs at launch. Still absolutely fucking worth the price. And yeah, so that was my very long-winded thoughts on Jedi Survivor.